going to be cleaning up and scuffing this area so I can paint it with the this stuff right here, tub and tile paint. All right, and just to show you something real quick, so I custom cut this backing pad so I can fit other things, and I have a video, you can watch that. If it's a disaster, I'll have to get another backing pad. But this backing pad is already a disaster because it doesn't fit what I want it to fit, so I'm going to go ahead and make my own custom version. But I'm just basically taking a maroon scuff pad, using the Velcro to make it sort of stick, and then just sort of getting the surface cleaned and abraded, because you want to have some bite for the paint, otherwise the paint is going to peel off eventually. And I don't really know how well it's going to last, but at least we're going to have a white sink and a white vanity, white countertop, just like that, with a can of paint. So let me just get my mask on. I'm going to continue to clean it. And then I also have this stuff. This is a CFX 436 wax and grease remover, just to remove any surface contaminants so the paint sticks better. But I always want to do a test area just to make sure that this chemical does not eat into the material, the substrate. And of course, ventilation is going to be key. Now, although it's spray cans, you still want to evacuate the solvent smells from the cans. So I get the window open and, you know, get some ventilation going in here. Luckily, it's spray cans, so not a lot of actual paint going everywhere. So, all right, stay tuned. I'm just going to go over a quick description of my technique. All right, so I'm going to be using my finger to go on and off, on and off. And my passes, I'm going to do what's called first cutting it in. I'm going to cut in the areas that are hard to get a smooth pattern to, like in here. I'll cut all those in. Cut in here, cut in here, cut in there. And then I'll start doing my passes. All right. The way I'm looking at this, when I'm spraying in the bowl, stuff's going to be coming up and landing over here. When I'm spraying over here, this stuff will get stuff landing on it. The thing about paint is you want to have a wet bed. That means, you know, with a wet bed, the stuff that lands on it will get absorbed into it. Otherwise, you can create texture if you are not careful with that. So, spray cans, not going to throw a lot of spray, but I will do a slight rehearsal to see how I will make my passes. You know, you can't invert the can. It has to be sprayed held a certain way. So, you know, sort of just go over a dry run just to see how I'm going to approach it. So I could go, then cut that in, and then start doing some longer passes. All right, but at least have a plan. You know, you want to go in it and spray here and spray there, and then be all over the place. You want the paint to be landing where it's got saturation and connecting the saturation. You don't want a dry spot. So if I start here, I want to make sure this is all wet. This is all wet, stays wet, stays wet. I'm chasing a wet edge. You want to chase the wet edge. Once you spray a wet edge and you skip, you have a dry edge, and then you try to go back and you miss that wet edge. Now you have a dry edge. It's not going to look very, very pretty. So you got to make sure you chase the wet edge, and you're always staying to the wet edge. And as far as the drying, you know, I can test my dry, if I'm going to do a second coat, by the areas where paint would overspray onto, and I can test to see how that paint is drying. If it's got a slick, no drag, all right, that's skinned over. If it's tacky, then I'll be leaving I'll be leaving prints on my sprayed section of where I'm testing. So understand that you want good full saturation. You want to chase that wet edge, and you want to make it nice and shiny everywhere. Okay, so it's got to look good. All right, this is stuff. go. So heavy right there. Kind of running. Lefty. Dry fast. Wow. How do you look? Pretty good. And load it. That's it. Got a couple of runs here, no big deal. Okay.